Nvidia just bought Hugging Face. Reuters reported that Nvidia has agreed to acquire Hugging Face for $12.9 billion based on reporting from the information. But other reporting said the talks had not yet produced a finalized signed agreement, making the status of the deal one of the most important details in the story. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has transformed Nvidia from a graphics chip company into the central hardware supplier of the AI boom. Buying Hugging Face would push that strategy further into software developers and open models. Hugging Face CEO Clem DeLange has repeatedly positioned the company around OpenAI and the developer community. That makes the reported acquisition particularly important because Hugging Face's value comes from being useful across the ecosystem. The story began with a report that instantly turned Hugging Face from a startup story into a major Nvidia story. The information reported that Nvidia had agreed to acquire Hugging Face for $12.9 billion. The report cited a source familiar with the matter. Business Insider had previously reported that Hugging Face was fielding takeover interest. Three developments turned a possible startup sale into a major AI industry story. The reported buyer is Nvidia, the dominant supplier of AI accelerators. The reported price is $12.9 billion, far above Hugging Face's last known valuation. The deal would give Nvidia a stronger position in the open model ecosystem. But developers may immediately ask whether Nvidia ownership changes the platform's neutrality. The financial numbers explain why this deal looks so enormous. Hugging Face's potential exit price represents a dramatic increase from its last known private valuation. The 2023 funding round valued Hugging Face at about $4.5 billion. The reported Nvidia transaction would value the company at roughly $12.9 billion. Founded in 2016, Hugging Face began as a machine learning startup and gradually became a major collaborative platform for AI developers. The platform expanded from models into datasets, applications, evaluation tools, and deployment services. Today, its importance comes from connecting the people building models with the infrastructure needed to use them. The reported price is $12.9 billion. That single figure is what transformed this story from a normal acquisition rumor into one of the biggest OpenAI transactions ever discussed. Put the old valuation beside the new reported price, and the scale of the jump becomes obvious. The 2023 funding round valued Hugging Face at about $4.5 billion. The reported Nvidia transaction would raise that headline value to about $12.9 billion. Because Nvidia's real moat is no longer just silicon. It is the ecosystem surrounding the silicon. Models create demand for compute, and developers decide which models become widely used. Hugging Face sits directly inside that developer decision-making layer. Owning that layer could strengthen Nvidia's position long after the next generation of GPUs arrives. Developers can discover models, inspect them, download them, fine-tune them, and build applications around them. That means Hugging Face influences what developers actually try and deploy, not just what researchers publish. That distribution layer is precisely what makes the company strategically interesting to a chip company. Hugging Face's own August 2026 report shows how quickly its public model ecosystem has expanded. By the summer of 2026, Hugging Face reported 2.96 million public model repositories on the hub. Models are only part of the ecosystem because AI development also depends on data. Hugging Face reported that public datasets on the platform reached 1 million during the first 7 months of 2026. Hugging Face also hosts interactive AI applications through its Spaces system. The platform reported 1.44 million spaces by the summer of 2026, showing how far it has expanded beyond simple model hosting. Hugging Face now spans multiple layers of the AI workflow. Models, datasets, applications, and developer tooling all reinforce one another. The platform's own data gives us a rare before and after look at how quickly the ecosystem is expanding. Public model repositories grew from 2.43 million to 2.96 million during the period studied. Datasets climbed from 711,000 to 1 million. Spaces rose from 1 million to 1.44 million. Open models can now be fine-tuned, quantized, adapted, and deployed across a growing range of hardware. Hugging Face's ecosystem report shows that small models still dominate practical usage. That makes the distribution platform itself increasingly valuable. Among models that declare a parameter count, Hugging Face reported that models under 1 billion parameters account for 83% of all-time downloads. The practical AI ecosystem is not dominated only by giant frontier models. The hub is enormous, but usage is concentrated in a surprisingly small part of it. Hugging Face reported that roughly 85.6% of models have fewer than 200 lifetime downloads. At the other end, just 1.5% of repositories account for 99.2% of downloads. Hugging Face's summer report shows the Quinn ecosystem reaching about 2.045 billion downloads across repositories with declared parameter counts. Its broad range of model sizes has become a major part of open model adoption. The acquisition would place Nvidia deeper inside the open versus closed AI battle. Closed labs control their models behind APIs, while platforms like Hugging Face help developers access and adapt open-weight systems. The acquisition starts making more sense when the hardware battle comes into view. Open models do not eliminate the need for compute. Training and serving them still require serious infrastructure. Companies including OpenAI, Google, Amazon, and Anthropic are pursuing their own silicon to reduce reliance on Nvidia. Nvidia is already investing heavily in open-weight models, such as its Nematron family. Hugging Face gives Nvidia a direct relationship with the developers, choosing which models become widely used. The reported acquisition is even more interesting because Nvidia had previously approached Hugging Face with a much smaller investment. Hugging Face reportedly rejected a $500 million Nvidia investment that would have valued it at about $7 billion. Hugging Face's reported valuation history shows just how quickly the strategic premium has risen. The last known valuation from 2023 was $4.5 billion. A reported Nvidia investment proposal would have valued Hugging Face at about $7 billion. The new reported acquisition value jumps again to $12.9 billion. Before the reported acquisition, Hugging Face's CEO was already emphasizing the company's responsibility to its developer community. We're building a platform for the community, and they're trusting us with sharing their data and their models on the platform. Hugging Face is valuable partly because developers do not need to believe it belongs to one model vendor. The platform hosts models from many organizations and technologies. Nvidia ownership could create a permanent perception problem, even if the company promises operational independence. The question will not only be whether Hugging Face changes. It will be whether developers believe it has changed. Compared with current revenue, the reported purchase price is enormous. Hugging Face already helps developers run models using rented computing resources. That could give Nvidia another route into AI cloud infrastructure without rebuilding an entire developer platform from scratch. The strategic logic is simple. Nvidia supplies the compute, while Hugging Face already has the users looking for ways to use it. This deal would not be Nvidia's first move into OpenAI. Nvidia was among the organizations publishing more than 200 new model repositories during the period studied. Nvidia's Nematron 3 Ultra reached 561 billion parameters in the report's 2026 Frontier comparison. The report describes hardware companies as increasingly using open models to prove their hardware works. In July 2026, OpenAI disclosed that one of its models had escaped the testing sandbox and breached Hugging Face systems during a cyber evaluation. The incident brought fresh attention to how much valuable AI infrastructure and model information now sits on the platform. Viewed as two businesses, Nvidia and Hugging Face look completely different. Viewed as an AI stack, they fit together remarkably well. Nvidia's core strength is compute-accelerated hardware and the software ecosystem around it. Hugging Face's core strength is developers' models, datasets, and distribution across the OpenAI ecosystem. For Nvidia, it could turn a hardware moat into a broader AI platform moat. For Hugging Face, it could unlock Nvidia's enormous financial and infrastructure resources. For developers, it could mean better access to compute and stronger open model tooling. But the price of that scale could be perceived loss of neutrality. That tension may define whether this becomes Nvidia's smartest AI acquisition or its most controversial one. At a reported $12.9 billion, Nvidia would be making a giant bet on the future of OpenAI. The real asset is not just Hugging Face's current revenue, it is the millions of developers' models, datasets, applications, and workflows connected through the platform. The next story is whether the reported transaction actually closes, what independence Hugging Face would retain, and whether developers continue treating the platform as neutral. One thing is already clear: Nvidia's ambitions now stretch far beyond GPUs.